Okay guys, this is what you get when you have your own James Bond lair deep down in the Norwegian fjords, and you've got all the time in the world over winter to play around with designs and cool ideas. I'm on the Hydrolift 26, the X-26 Sport. This thing is pretty amazing. So, twin air stepped hull, 24 degrees dead rise, 1.9 tons light ship, and rated to 600 horsepower. I'm going to say that again, 600 horsepower. We're on a 26-foot boat, guys. So if that doesn't give you an idea of the quality of the built in Norway, not just designed in Norway, if that doesn't give you an idea, you're just going to have to watch to the end till I wind this thing up to full speed and I can show you. Dan Jones is my name. Welcome to Dan's Boat Life. You're watching the test drive video. There is a walkthrough video separate to this. I'll leave a link in the description, pop it up on the screen, and possibly at the end of the video too. It's January the 2nd. There's people everywhere. So if you see me, if I stop talking, it's probably because I'm concentrating, because there's a lot of boat wash. There's a lot of activity. It's summer holidays. Everyone's got their new boats for Christmas. Here we go. Some big powerboat wash on us right now. There we go. So yeah, we're just going to go for a bit of a cruise. We're not going to go full speed just yet. We're just going to feel this hull. And an amazing hull it is. We've just done the drone shoot. First thing I want to point out, not a lick of water on the windscreen. These seats back here are dry. I'm with Shane, he's from Ocean Boats. He's the dealer sitting on the back seat there. And he came down from Pittwater this morning. So the boat's already done an offshore run. We've been beaten through powerboat wash and we're dry. This boat is designed for very high speeds. It has a top speed capability of 70 plus knots. That's 70 knots on a 26-foot boat. When I'm passing through these waves right now, of which there's quite a few, motorboat, powerboat wash, and the wind chop is starting to make its way through the harbour, I can feel the rigidity of this hull doing its thing. This boat does not seem to have much flex, and it appears to be built exceptionally well. Next thing that I'm going to point out is the throttle. You can probably have your traditional throttles, but on a boat that has this sort of speed capability, there is some validity, some practical, sensible factors to have a race throttle like this. See how I'm resting my hand on the throttle base? So as we move around, you know, I'm speeding up to some pretty decent speeds now. So I'm just sitting on 34 knots there at 3,200 revs, and we're just gliding along, but I'm able to rest my hand on the throttle base and really have good solid control of the boat at what will soon to be very, very high speeds. Next thing, I've got my safety on today because a boat that can do this sort of speed, yeah, it's kind of sensible. You don't always see me doing that, but I just pick my moments, and this is one of them. The Lenco trim tabs, which this boat is optioned with, are at a nice easy reach from the throttle on your right hand. So you go from here straight to here, and so if you want to do your refinement, you can. So I'm just coming through there at 3,100 revs. I've got pretty much full tanks on board today, 300 litre tanks from memory on this boat, and we're just cruising along at 32 knots. It's quite choppy, so you're just not going to see the full speed yet until we get to some flatter water. This boat, this is the open version. It is optional with a T-top. I'm going to link to a photo of the T-top in this video because I don't actually know what it looks like. I understand it's like a 4-post style of T-top, so that is an option for anyone who is concerned about being exposed in the sun. And this hull, it's also available in a full-on cabin version, which looks quite striking, I gotta say. So yeah, just coming through there at 29 knots. We're now in the exposed part of the harbour. I've got a little bit of ocean swell, lots of wind chop, and boat wash from every direction. So I'm just comfortable at the seated position. It's a lot rougher than when we did the drone shoot about 1 hour ago because all the people are out and about, and I'm just passing through those waves at 27 knots. I've got some swell coming from my starboard side. I've got a little bit of bounce back from the boats on port, and I've got ferry, maritimas, rivieras, tinnies, yachts, sunseekers, fairlines, you name it, everybody's out today. Okay, here's a little opportunity. We're in the exposed water now. We'll just increase that speed from 27 up to 30 knots. We'll just sit on a little cruise speed of 30 knots. I've got engine trim all the way down. I'll give that a little bit of a trim up. And I've got trim tabs in the retracted position. Going through some ocean swell from starboard to port. Yeah, she really does have a different motion than many of the cutting bow boats I'm used to. It's not a cutting bow. So first thing, when I saw this boat at the dock, my question to Shane was, is it a wet ride? And does it have a lot of vertical acceleration when you hit waves? And just going through some of these waves now, the answer is no. The aggressive V sort of tapers out to like this interesting looking flare at the front, but it just doesn't want to throw any water up. It's all the water's coming at this midship section and it's being sent out quite efficiently. I'm going to go through some ferry wash, going to avoid this kayaker, and we've got the got a reef just to port which we won't go near. Okay, I'm going to get into some calm water in a second. Maintaining 28 knots there. So 28 knots feels like you're just idling along on this boat. It honestly does. So I think if you're looking for a fast commuter, this is absolutely that. But if you were looking for a ridiculously fast commuter, that's where this is going to fit the bill for some of you. And you know what? There's too many people here to do a safe high-speed run, so we'll just have to do a moderate speed run at the moment, and we'll find another part of the harbour to give you a true representation in a second, because I'm going to annoy some people if I do that in here. So just coming through 28, 30 knots, 3,200 revs. Wow, landed reasonably smoothly. So there is an option to go for suspension seats. If you're going to be doing a lot of offshore driving, I see that might be a bit of a value, not because of the hull shape, I think it's because of the speed capability, because I can, like straight away, here where I'm at 40 knots, I've got to slow down because I've got a kayaker here. And you just imagine this hull with 600 horsepower, you're going to want every little bit of protection that you can give yourself in terms of softening your bottom. Now going into some waves. Give it one little blast just here. Oh yeah. Forty knots in a bull, yeah. The acceleration, I haven't even given it full revs there, guys. I just got to 4,000 revs and I got 40 knots. There is so much in reserve. Let's go find somewhere which is not full of Christmas and New Year's revelers and actually test this out properly, because I just did 4,000 revs. We've got 2,000 revs left in the rev range and we got to 40 knots. This is only with the single 300 horsepower. This thing's rated to 600. Oh my God. All right, let's go find somewhere smooth. Okay guys, I had to come out of all the traffic. It's just, it's what you get this time of year. It's incredibly busy, and give this hull a proper test. I could feel out there on the craziness of Sydney Harbour that this thing is a weapon, and I'm experiencing already that it really is. Here we are, 4,500 revs, giving me an easy cruise of 40 knots. 40 knots on the single 300. Just notch that up a little bit. 4,800, 42. The wind vortices are here to here. It actually feels like a proper race boat. I know it has race boat heritage, but coming into 46 knots, 5,200 revs, going to pass the maritime officers, just might make that a little bit of a wide pass so we don't piss anyone off. Okay, increasing speed, 5,300 revs, flat water now. We can really let this boat do its thing. Going to give the engine a little bit of a trim up. I'm seeing 5,400. I'm not at full revs. I'm not at full revs. Okay, coming in at 5,500, still in flat water, 50 knots. Okay, now I'm at full revs. I've got more speed. It feels so controllable. A little bit of wash here. It feels like I'm in a fighter jet. 5,600 revs. I'm going to give it a little bit of a trim up. Coming through the corner, real race car mode stuff now. Doing 51.1 knots, increasing speed, 5,800 revs. Another trim up, 5,900 revs. Feels quite controllable. Feels quite controllable. The wind vortices are still in a very manageable area. The boat just feels solid. 51, 52 knots. I got some boat wash and some skis in the water. 52 knots with a full tank of fuel, Shane and myself and our gear on board. Not optimal conditions considering boat wash, but that was pretty flat water. Holy moly. This boat's rated to 600 horsepower. They're not lying about the 70 knots thing. This thing's probably going to go faster than 70 knots. Wow. So I've just learned a few things. The race throttle, it's justified. The hull, it's solid. The design, the 24 degrees of dead rise, it's got a different motion to what you would expect on some of the knife edge cutting bows. How do I describe that? 30 knots feels like you're just going for a cruise in the school zone. You know, when you have the school zone, you've got to slow down at pickup time. 30 knots feels like you're going that slow on this boat. It's so solid, there's not a rattle in sight. And once you get through that 30 knots, the solidity, is that a word? I don't know. But the solid nature of this boat starts to come into play. Bear in mind, when you start to hit the chop, you will get a little bit of activity through the waves and the boat might want to launch. I could see this boat being a hull that if you take some of those waves we were doing on the main part of the harbour before, at that speed, you'd get airborne. They option it with suspension seats, just for that matter, I'd say. But this is a driver's boat. This is a boat that needs to be driven with knowledge and education if you're going to do those sorts of speeds. But it's also a boat at normal speeds, 30 to 40 knots. You're not going to frighten anyone. You're going to have the absolute best time of your life. And if you need to transit somewhere, just say you have to go up the Hawkesbury River, for example, or you're on the Gippsland Lakes, or on the inshore runway, up the Gold Coast there, and you want to get somewhere. Oh my God, you're going to do it on this boat. Keep watching, guys. There's another video coming up right now where we're going to do a detailed walkthrough. I think you're going to be interested on the layout of this boat because there's a couple of surprises that I certainly wasn't aware of, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. Click on the link, check that out now.